the National Electoral Commission. Of course, we're still receiving more results, so we're getting more results from our reporters out there in the constituencies.
Yeah, we have a lot of reporters out on field getting ready to give us some live updates while we wait to hear more results coming in. And yes, you mentioned a lot of the constituencies where CCM is taking quite a lead, which is something interesting to note. But then again, another interesting to note is how every single political party has had some percentage of votes. There hasn't been one party that hasn't got a single vote, which is something interesting to notice. And also a thing that happened yesterday was the NEC's announcement of how they are the final authority to be the ones to release the votes, and therefore people should be patient while they wait to finish tallying up the votes and then therefore make the announcement. And they said when they do make the announcement, it will attach the pictures of the contestants along with the results of the vote. So a lot of people are...
As you said, the National Electoral has the mandate to announce its results, but in some cases it hasn't been the case, because you've seen some incidences where people have, decided to sort of make a vigil at the polling stations to wait for the results to be announced, and that's why there's been some cases of violence here and there. But the security has been put in place, and they have managed to sort of like put it to make sure that they prevent such situations.
Right. There's been a very critical eye on the NEC during these elections, especially with the new use of technology that has been implemented for this year's general elections compared to the last general elections for the government and the way things have been run. The NEC has been being critically looked in the sense that they're saying that all these occurrences that happened could have been avoided had this been pre-planned earlier, had all these things been ironed out and been taken more seriously. And all those people that have been a part of this process, a part of this election process, have been brought to the forefront, trained properly, given financed properly, given the right mandates, the right instructions, and all this could have been avoided, such as the outbreaks of violences, the delay in the voting polling stations.
As we saw during the voting day, where the incidences where transport was a problem. To get the voting material to polling stations was a problem. The clerks and the supervisors at the polling stations, some of them didn't even know what to do.
No, they didn't, which is quite a surprise, because again, why would you employ somebody who does not know what to do? That's going to cause a lot of conflict, and of course people who are coming in there to get those services are going to notice this person does not know what he's doing, and therefore again it's going to instigate some sort of violence, some sort of conflict between the voters themselves and these polling attendants. But then, as we mentioned before, all these things could have been avoidable. That's why people are saying next time, especially for next year's general election, the NEC should prepare more in advance. And look at how they can learn from some of the mistakes. But overall, though,
even though they did say that they had prepared themselves, they were ready for it.
They said they're ready for it.
But saying that every time the elections come up.
Right, but then we saw what happened. Your actions speak louder than your words. So we've seen the results of what happened. But there have been some positive things to note. We have different observers coming in from different places.
They said that it's been conducted quite freely and fairly.
Exactly. We have people come from the EU. SADC,
the Great Lakes region.
Exactly. We have people from the Legal and Human Rights Center who have been observing how the elections have been run. And they're saying that overall, despite all these occurrences that happened, it was peaceful. Even residents themselves in the different constituencies and different polling stations were like, they're quite happy. Things went fast. It wasn't so crowded. They went in, they went out, and they got some of the results they wanted. But then some of the things that were negative, such as the counting now of the ballot. We saw in some of the things that were shown when we were looking at some of the updates in different regions that when they were counting the ballots, the counting of the ballots were done in a dim lighting. So people were saying, how is this possible?
And some said that the papers, the ballot papers themselves, some of them are not original copies.
Right.
They were actually photocopies.
Right. Which is something else to note. Like why is that the case? Why isn't there original papers? Is that something we should be concerned with? Again, that's what the Legal and Human Rights Center said, that, after all this is over, they're writing up a report that's going to show everything that they've observed from the positive down all the way to the negative
side of it.
And it's going to be given to the right officials, people in Parliament, and during their different meetings. They're going to look at, okay, what happened? And if anything that was written in this report, apart from even from the Legal and Human Rights Center, people from the EU and so forth.
The observers
exactly, it's going to be gathered
to the election process.
Right. All this information is going to be gathered, looked at in the meetings, and then they're going to analyze, okay, this was an error. If this was an error, things can go as far as going into court cases. You know, this wasn't right, and it should be looked at, and it should be dealt with. It cannot be avoided. And there's also been issues of corruption, of bribery happening at different levels. Again,
during the campaign period?
Exactly, during the campaign period, even during the voting process,
yes.
Right, and the ballot counting process, there's been issues of bribery. There's, of course, been different amendments made to the Constitution so that this will be avoidable, but they're saying things such as that, you know, the way our culture is, different things, it shouldn't be, it can't be something we can overlook. But the Constitution is clear-cut about what is right and what isn't right.
Yeah.
But there, again, there's complaints about too much amendments being made to the Constitution. People are confused.
At a short time, you know,
exactly, in a short time.
Just in a very short time, a few months just before the actual elections took place. So that might have contributed to it as well.
Right.
Other negative area of the election process, especially during the voting period, was that most of the voters were complaining that names that had not been displayed at the polling stations.
Yeah, that was also something interesting to note. Why? That's a question everybody's asking, why? But then the Legal and Human Rights Center said that a week before the voting process was to begin, people were told to go and check their names on the list.
Exactly, that was about 1 week before this for the elections.
Yeah, but then there was the issue again of people saying they had gone and checked their names on the list. And then they said they saw, some people say they saw their names, but when it came now to the voting day, their names weren't there because there was a reprint again of the names. I'm not really sure, there was maybe some issues during the printing process. I think, again, there was some technical hiccups. Again, with the new use of technology, some people were not too familiar with it, therefore causing some flaws during the printing process. I mean, there was even cases in Zanzibar, people going to vote with old registration cards. How? There was these new issues of the registration cards.
Exactly.
Things were kind of snappy during the issuing of the registration cards. Things went fast, but then there was now the issue of those people having IDs, the polling attendants having IDs. They didn't get them. Some people didn't have their IDs.
So it's issues like this, like, you know, why are they taking place on the actual day of elections?
Exactly. That's a very good question, and one that is being asked to the NEC, and we're still waiting to see what they're going to say about these accusations.
Well as the Election Commission, because they're the right persons, people to speak about this. Yes, so as we're talking about the results that keep coming in from the various constituencies right now, and we'll be getting updates from our reporters out there in the various constituencies to hear who's won which constituent and how the process has been to get the actual final results as well. But if we look at the actual election process, the 2000 general elections, how did you see it?
It was a lot of interesting stuff. I was relatively pleased with a lot of things that happened. Again, with some of the incidents that happened, it was a bit of a disappointment. Why weren't they looked at? But then overall, people were quite happy with the whole process. I mean, even before the actual day of voting and the day of counting, the way the campaigns were held, a lot of candidates made use of such things such as social media, Facebook, Twitter. They relied heavily on that to draw out the youth and bring the youth.
I think it's been a very interesting, the fact that youth have been more involved in this election process than the previous years.
More than 50% of our nation's population is made up of youth. So that's a large percent. And if you're smart enough and if you're a politician, you're going to take advantage of how can I capture the youth and get them to my side. So that's what it, again, comes down to using what are the youth attracted to? What attracts the youth? Young people like somebody who's charismatic. They want to say, this person, if I put him in power, he's going to understand what I need as a young person. We want to see some changes, you know. We always hear talks about, you know, this is the old way of life.
They want to see new things.
We want to see new things.
Change.
Right.
And they want to get involved in the process as well.
Exactly. So there's been a huge turnout of youth at the campaign rallies, youth getting involved in politics, being outspoken, not afraid to say which party they're vying for and why. I'm very informed about some of the issues that are affecting them. The Legal and Human Rights Center mentioned a lot of different issues that have been happening, such as you know, child abuse, such as education, such as healthcare. Youth has
also the issue of employment as well. Unemployment is an issue that is concerning the young generation here.
But then it all ties down again to the educational system. Why is unemployment an issue? Is it because the youth or the people that are coming out of our higher education are not qualified or not getting the right information or the right qualifications to go and get a job and be competitive within the job market? If you look at employers, they want to know, if I hire this person, will they deliver the job I'm carrying out? So again, it comes down to the issue of education. It's something, again, that's a fundamental institution that needs to be looked at and improved upon.
And this is an area where the government has to come in to make sure that they create a conducive environment for the youth to be able to benefit from the various sectors, you know, for the economic development of the country, of course.
It comes down again to the quality versus quantity debate. There's a lot of schools being risen up. There's a lot of
but it's the quality of the schools. You know, does it meet the standards? That,
exactly, exactly. With, the international standards. If, say, I just graduated at one of the schools over here, where there's a secondary school, and I'm going now into university. I graduated there from the university, and somebody from maybe one university in one region, and I have another person from university in another region, and we're all vying for the same jobs. I look at, you know, such things as a job employer will look at is what is this school's reputation?
Exactly.
What do they teach? They're going to look at the degree. They're going to look at how you perform as compared to the other students. They're going to look at things like the curriculum, your extracurricular activities. Did you do a good job while you were in school? If I employ you, all those assets that you attain from that school, will it benefit my company? Will it benefit my organization? And so forth. So a lot of questions have been risen that employers are not satisfied with how the people who are coming out of this institutions will deliver a good job. So
that's another area that the incoming government has to look at to make sure that they improve the quality of the education institutions in the country, to make sure that they meet the standards, they're able to produce you know, graduates who have the quality to be employed in various sectors. You know?
We want adequate, we want articulate, professional Tanzanians, young Tanzanians that can be proved to be a power force in our community.
Not just in our community, because we're looking at the regional community as well. We're talking about the East African community right now, and even broader than the SADC, you know. So it's a question of where what can the next government come in and do, or what can they deliver to make sure they deliver and they bring about improvement. The young are employed, the youth are employed in various sectors in the country.
Right. Again, also such issues as healthcare. Healthcare
has been raised by many of the candidates during the campaigns this year.
What are they saying? How are they going to solve some of the problems that are affecting Tanzanians all over? Now, when it comes to the issue of health, it is not discriminatory. It does not matter your race. It does not matter your sex. It does not matter your age. Your health is something very vital. So people out there, citizens want to know, if I elect this person into office, what is he going to do for me in terms of me going to the hospital? If I don't have any money,
they're going to be delivered there. Are they going to be affordable? In most of the hospitals here, especially the government-owned hospitals, the services are substandard. You go, you want there's the medicine, there's no medicine, or well, we can say that, you know, the type of quality of the service that they deliver is overworked. But
then now, if you even look at the people who are employed in hospitals, such as the doctors, there have been a lot of complaints about doctors not being paid much. You know, doctors are very vital people in our community. They're the ones that are giving these healthcare services to the people. So if they're not satisfied with how things are going in, apart from not having enough equipment, apart from not having enough medicine, apart from being overworked different hours, you're working all those hours.
This is where we come in with the budget. Is the budget that's, you know, set aside for the health sector, is it enough?
Right. There's been a lot of,
has it been given priority?
Yeah. There's been a lot of strikes in some hospitals because of the payment issues. They're saying that, you know, how you are treating us, it is not fair. We want to see improvement in the way we're treated as doctors, as nurses, as healthcare officials. We want to see some changes that are being made. So those are, again, some of the other issues that have been raised throughout the election campaign period.
And another area has been the area of infrastructure development. Infrastructure development in terms of transport, road networks, rail network, the harbours, you know. They've been given quite a lot of focus, particularly on the Chama cha Mapinduzi candidates. They've been talking about how it is important to improve the infrastructure in the country.